Welcome everybody to a very special type of video that I really wanted to do because I just felt like doing it. And today we're gonna be ranking. We're gonna be doing a few different WWE tier lists. And why we're doing this? Because I've been a huge fan of WWE wrestling in general for the longest time, and I have a unique perspective. Basically, I'm Gen Z. I just am. Barely, but I am Gen Z. And I've seen a lot of people's tier lists, but the people I mostly see watched a lot during what I would say is a different era, and it's a unique viewpoint. So, yeah, we're going to figure out how this Gen Z person right here, what I think about a few different tier lists. Okay, and the first one we're going to be doing is going to be the best wrestlers of all time tier list. And yeah, there's not actually a lot in here, so this is going to be pretty simple and easy. And man, this is going to be interesting. I hope I recognize everybody. I should, for the most part, recognize everybody, with maybe the exception of one or two. And I'll probably just Google their name real quick if needed, and we'll do that. But for now, I think I know most of these guys here. And there's going to be some interesting choices here to be made. Should we go in order? I say we go in order. Seth Rollins. Okay. See, as a Gen Z person, I've known Seth Rollins for a while. In fact, I actually do remember the Shield, and I remember him for the first time. So, Seth, I'm sorry for two people, but he's a GOAT. I think even at this point, I would consider him a GOAT. Although I might change the order here because I do want to go in order of stuff. So, Great Khali, um, Eesh, man, I remember being such a huge fan of the potential matches that we could have with this guy. But I also do know that he wasn't very good at all. So, man, it has to be trash. He just wasn't the best wrestler, I believe. Uh, Bret Hart. Bret Hart is. Here's the thing. Because of my age, I'm gonna have to just put him in the great. And this one's already gonna be hugely controversial. Um, no, early on when I was a lot younger, I had heard many things and I had seen like one or two matches of Bret Hart, but that plus him coming back, having that terrible run afterwards, um, when he came back, did a bunch of stuff with Vince. That wasn't good at all. That ruined a little bit for me as a watcher, because besides that, I mean, I've only really seen matches of him. I never watched him actually wrestle, when he was wrestling actually live. So that could change though. It's gonna depend. Triple H, the game, goat, goat. Triple H is a goat without a doubt. Rob Van Dam, he was great. RVD was great, but I really only watched him towards the later end of his career, in WWE. By the way, I mostly watch WWE. Even now, that's primarily the mostly thing, and I've always watched since it's been WWE. I've never watched WWF. As in, I didn't watch it when it was WWF. I've obviously seen tons of classic matches and everything, but that's not the same. Chris Jericho also would be under great. I'll tweak it afterwards, but for now, he's just gonna be. Chris Jericho is definitely a great. Even now, he's still wrestling, at least at the time of the video. And you know what? I have the urge to put him under goats, but I'm not gonna do it. I just don't think he had as many of really good feuds for me and good stories for me. I took a huge break between like 2013 ish to about 2020. So I know that there's some good stuff that Chris Jericho ended up doing later, but I actually don't. I didn't watch it live, so I don't really know how great it was. So as a Gen Z person, Chris Jericho's there. Big Show for me was just great. Um, yeah, Big Show would be great for me. Um, he's not a goat, but he had a pretty fun run. I think he was pretty decent at what he was meant to do as the character. So, and it was fun watching him have this like um, Goliath type of matches. Ric Flair, see, I'm sorry, but Ric Flair for me is good, not great. By the time I started watching WWE, or at least like the earliest memories for somebody like me, Ric Flair was pretty much at the end of his career at WWE. Obviously, we already know what happened afterwards and how long he ended up staying wrestling. Um, but for me, yeah, I'm sorry, you just didn't have exactly what I look in, what I look for and for great. But you know, you're great. AJ Styles is going to be another thing. A lot of people really like AJ Styles. Now, I will say this: I'm rating things based on pretty much a bit of everything, their character work and their wrestling skill, and you know some more stuff. But AJ Styles is a phenomenal wrestler. He's a really good wrestler. So I'm gonna give it that. I've never been interested in this character of AJ Styles. I don't find it that fun. It's kind of boring, kind of. But man, terrific wrestler. Kevin Nash or Diesel. I forgot what he went by here in WWE. So I'm gonna have to put him here. I might even put him here, but I'm gonna try to just go based off his actual career and stuff. Because to be honest, uh, the person he is now is probably down here. I don't like his takes. I don't like his views. He kind of sounds a lot like a old salty man. Uh, Very jealous sounding of the younger generation. But you know, for me, I actually didn't watch him at all. Basically, I don't think I watched any live matches, and I didn't, and haven't watched many classic matches of his. So sorry, he's probably here and good. Heck, he might even be one of these. But for me, sorry, Alberto Del Rio for me would be under good. For a lot of people, he's probably a not full potential or even trash. In fact, trash is probably going to be for a lot of people. But for me, I found his character pretty entertaining, and I always thought he was decent at wrestling. So I'm gonna put him at good. Um, yeah, it's gonna take something different for me to put under trash. Like for trash, like the Great Khali, his character was very bland, one dimensional, and he just wasn't like super great at wrestling. Bret to the Real, he was good at wrestling, and even though he didn't really vibe with people or the crowd, his character was interesting. So Stone Cold, Stone Cold will be GOAT. For me, is somebody I looked up to, um, not because I watched him really, but it's like one of those like legends. He is a super legend in all the classic um, type of stories he's done. Obviously, I'm aware of. You know, I know I've watched a lot of clips. And they're all super entertaining. And he always seemed super cool. And yeah, he's definitely a goat. I don't think anybody would. This looks like Baron Corbin. I could only kind of tell the picture because he's not fully bald and he doesn't have long hair. For me, Baron Corbin, I think, is not a full potential. He just isn't. I never watched him when he had long hair, but by the time I started watching him, he was not. He wasn't used probably as well as he should have been. So for me, he is going under. He's gonna be not full potential because I think he has a lot to give. From my understanding, he's a terrific wrestler. I wouldn't know much about that since, uh, basically I haven't really watched much of. I haven't seen that good wrestling. Hulk Hogan, he belongs here. But once again, this is him as a person. Man, this goes against every one of my whole body's telling me to put him in trash. He's a trash. He's trash. It's like even when he redeems himself slightly, he ends up doing something else that makes me think he's trashing it. But back to the point. Let's be clear here. He probably is the reason wrestling became as popular as it did. The marketing I've seen done, not really done as in live, but what was done, yeah, no, it's pretty obvious and clear he belongs here in the GOAT. Uh, Dean Ambrose, almost wanted to call him Moxley. Dean Ambrose, because I've only seen him in WWE. I've seen like bits and pieces of him in AEW, but it's just not. He will probably be under good. Or his character work for me was he was never giving anything good. I could tell that much. You could tell by the little stuff I've seen of AEW. I could tell that he wasn't properly utilized. He honestly is probably somebody who could easily be GOAT. He's probably even at great right now, but from what I've seen of him in WWE, he is good, not great. CM Punk for me is a GOAT. CM Punk. CM Punk is a GOAT. Yeah, for me he's a GOAT. Back when I was watching wrestling at my prime, like his stories were just they were just great. He seemed like such a anti-hero basically. Somebody who like he was clearly supposed to be the bad guy, especially during him in the Cena days, but he just ended up seeming more like a anti-hero, and like he was bad but he was cool. um so yeah, he's definitely in the GOAT, and even now he's back and he's still good. I mean, he isn't this era right here, the shirt he's wearing now. This is the CM Punk I know best. I only kind of got a brief bit of him with like the longer hair, like his hair down and stuff. Rey Mysterio to me is also a GOAT. He's one of the GOATs for you know, lucha libre style wrestlers, and there's a lot of reasons to like about him. He was involved in some of the most entertaining stories, matches, as in like I liked whenever he faced people. He made the matches entertaining as hell, and you always had like this sense of him as like an underdog, pretty much when he was going up against anybody, because everybody was like bigger than him, pretty much. The Rock, GOAT. I mean, that's also an obvious. Him and Stone Cold Steve Austin are what I know as legends when it comes to WWF, the Attitude Era. To me, this is what I consider peak WWF. Obviously, I never watched it at the times because, I mean, I was 1 year old. I don't even know if I was fully born when the Attitude Era technically began. So, Daniel Bryan, great. I would put him like right here though. Um, I he's really close to have been the GOAT, but unfortunately his injuries did not let him ever get to that stage, at least in the WWE run. Because he's still going, I think now he's probably a GOAT. But once again, this is a lot more personal. This is more biased. It's going to be based off a lot of my own experiences, and that's exactly why I'm probably going to title this video Gen Z makes WWE tier list or something. Edge, the rated R superstar, definitely belongs in GOAT. What can I say? He was super entertaining. I've seen a lot of very viral clips of his back in his early days, and yeah, no, he's a GOAT. I don't know what else I could say. He's a legend. I mean, Edge is a legend, and I wish him luck in his AEW experience. Cena is obviously a GOAT. If I were to rank people, I would say Cena here. I grew up with Super Cena. I did. I remember watching like Cena and just thinking he was like the top dog. Um, and it sucked that he was getting booed so much because I was on the opposite side. I was not booing. I liked Cena. I liked Super Cena. Okay, I was a huge fan of Super Cena. See this difference, Gen Z, me. I liked Super Cena. I liked him kicking everybody's ass. That's what I liked. I liked him being unbeatable, unstoppable, to the point of like pure comedic effect. I liked that. Kane. Kane to me is great. He was great. His character alone is enough to put him at great. That would be the same thing with Undertaker, but Undertaker's not in here, and Mass Kane is in here. Mass Kane would also be great. Brock Lesnar, once again, he's been in a bit of controversy, and there's some weird things about him, but he definitely belongs under great. He is not a GOAT to me. His lack of being there now, like he would only be during pay-per-views, I don't like that at all. And him back then, to me, I don't think. I mean, obviously he's a super athlete, so obviously he's great, and he's. But let's just be honest here. His character work is to be desired. He's kind of the beast, and that's it. His stuff when he was dressed more like farmer like was pretty cool, but we just didn't see enough of him like that. Kurt Angle, great. I know enough of Kurt Angle, but I'll be honest, I haven't watched much of him. I do know a few of the feuds he was involved in that were pretty big. Eddie, Rey Mysterio, Cena. So here's the cool thing about it. I know the Cena thing, like he Cena's first, you know, opponent basically. Randy Orton, the Viper's a GOAT. He's still wrestling. He's still at it. He's been super loyal to WWE. He is a GOAT, especially during his the Viper, like his, him punting everybody. Like that is the Randy Orton that I knew, and it was amazing. Batista is just great. He would be pretty high up, but he is not a GOAT. I'm sorry. Batista left pretty early on. Even back then, he was basically having kind of like a Brock Lesnar type of character. He was just really big and muscular, and then obviously Vince gave him a lot of opportunities, mostly because of that. But there was some good feuds he had, so he's definitely great. Roddy Piper. Sorry, but you're going to be under GOAT. And it's going to be because of lack of knowing the matches you were involved in. And I don't know your history, and to be honest, to me, his character from the outside looks pretty boring. Just the Dead Man, he's obviously going to be a GOAT. His WrestleMania streak alone is GOAT status, but he was also very good in the ring. Knew when it was time to redevelop his character. Great. Mick Foley, great. I've seen a lot of classic matches by Mick Foley, and I've seen a few character works, so he's here. Honestly, probably even here towards the end, because I know enough of his stories that he's been involved in, and he has a lot of different personas. Its matches were legendary, so yeah, here's GOAT. So this is the tier list. I'll quickly change the order because things are not the way it's supposed to be. Like Cena to me is up here, Hogan here, because I at least have to put him here and last in the GOATs. McFoley's fine, Orton's fine, he's probably further up, The Rock is further up, but to me Triple H is further down, Punk is further up, Seth Rollins, I'm sorry, is like down here, but Edge is less, Randy Orton's higher than the Dead Man even. This is pretty good. Rey Mysterio goes down one, and Triple H goes down one. And yep, I like this tier list a lot. Oh, I like this one. Under great though, I would say this is decent enough. Yeah, I would say this is decent enough. Under good but not great is probably going to be AJ Styles, because AJ Styles would probably belong under great for me. Ric Flair's fine. Ambrose goes here, and that's fine. Not potential, probably like that. And then Khali, I'm sorry, buddy. I don't even know why. I mean, you kind of feel like an odd man out, buddy. But yeah, this is the tier list for, what was it? Best wrestlers all-time tier list. It's not the only one we're going to do, though, because obviously it was going to be too much. I was going to be too little. I'm going to look at the viewer community. And this is pretty much the average. Wow. So people put pretty much everybody else under GOAT. That is insane to me. I don't know what they were ranking it off of. Let's see. Let's look at somebody else's tier list. You look like you pretty much make a good tier list. Let's take a look at somebody's real quick. Yeah, I could see that. Under GOAT, I don't know if they put this in any particular order, but the only difference is they put AJ Styles here, and Kurt Angle, and Ric Flair. I mean, this makes sense, but this is probably somebody just slightly older, because there's no way I would put Kurt Angle up here otherwise. But yeah, let's go on to something else. Now we're gonna be doing this one for fun, just because there actually isn't that many different tier lists actually available. Um, I thought there would be a lot more, so we'll do this one for fun. I'm gonna base it off primarily their stories they're involved in, their wrestling skills, and maybe even a little bit of future potential. I know what they're trying to make me rate them from, but contrary to popular belief, I will probably not be ranking them on attractiveness because that just seems like I'm not giving them enough respect. And the women's division is like probably my favorite to watch. They always have the best stories and they have some of the best moments. So yeah, so out of respect, they're definitely not going to be, you know, unless I rate the men's to attractiveness. But that's not happening. So okay, we'll go off. I know most of the roster, but I could definitely see a few new faces. So we'll start with obviously the legend for me, Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch. It's too bad I missed a lot of the man and Becky two belts because I'm a huge Becky fan, like huge. She gives off like really nice like boss level vibes. And her wrestling is so crisp. So she gets rated that. Dakota Kai. Dakota Kai right now is probably just a B tier. She definitely has the potential to be ranked higher, but for most of the time that I know, she's been mostly just Judgment Day for the time I've known her as, because I pretty much have only known her from when she debuted with Bayley at SummerSlam back a few years ago. So she gets B tier. Asuka. Asuka's S tier. She is definitely at that stage of her career where she is boss, like a legend. So S tier. And her fighting style is so cool. Let me just get on that for just a little second because I'm not giving her enough respect, but just going and breezing her through. Her like swinging back elbows that she does, that's just so cool. Bayley is S tier. The Judgment, I said Judgment Day. Not Judgment Day. Damage Control. I hope I didn't say Damage Control. Judgment Day with Dakota Kai. What the heck? Damage Control. Her Damage Control thing was really cool, especially towards the peak when she got betrayed. That was cool. Her run now, like currently, I'm not the biggest fan of. It's a little kind of bland. But yeah, no, Bayley definitely deserves it. Her character work and her crowd control, amazing. It is. She knows the audience well. Oh my god. Bianca goes here. Bianca, besides Becky Lynch, is my all-time, like, she's my all-time favorite. I just think she's so good, and they built her up so well, and there's just a lot to like about her. So yeah, Bianca gets rated that high up. Candice, you're C tier. You're just not giving enough. She started doing some pretty good work when she was leaning towards heel. I haven't been keeping up, so I don't know if she continued that. Hopefully she did. Carmella's A tier. She's a solid A tier. Once again, she knows her character very well, and people who really lean into their character, I'm a huge fan. So like, I'm a huge fan of her, and I'll get to it later on, but I'm also a huge fan of a few other people for pretty much the same reason. Charlotte Flair, she's a GOAT. Probably goes up here too. She's end-level boss. She's so good that she just, it's a reason they've made her champion so many times. She's actually just that good of a wrestler as well. I mean, she's that good. Io Sky. Io Sky is probably really getting really close to S tier in my opinion. I'm just a huge fan of her. I'm a huge fan of women wrestlers that do a lot of like off the rope type of stuff. Chelsea Green is S tier for me. Here we go. Sorry, you go right here. Chelsea Green is one of my favorite wrestlers right now. Her character work is so good that that alone bumped her to S tier. She belongs here. She needs to be a champion ASAP. Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan's A tier. Her character work is really good right now. I think she's could easily be argued for S tier, but I wouldn't put her there quite yet. Not quite, but you know what? I'll put her here because she's around the cusp, and she's a huge. I'm a huge fan of her. I'm a huge fan of her. I think the things right now she's doing with Judgment Day, actually Judgment Day, is really cool. So I'll put her there. Shayna Baszler. I've always found her character kind of bland and boring, so she goes C tier. I think wrestling style is a little unique. Incorporates a little bit of MMA kind of style, so she goes there. But besides that, unfortunately, not too much. Shotzi also C tier. The truth is, I like her character a lot, but I think she is a little green, no pun intended. And her wrestling still needs to be touched on a little bit, and they need to put her in better stories too. Mia Yim, right? It's not Mia Kim. See, I don't see enough of her, but I will rank her probably B right here. Wrestling, she's decent, but stories, she hasn't shown me anything. Nothing really. Zoe Stark, she gets probably B tier for now, but you know what? She did a lot of good stuff when she was doing the feud with Becky. Sonya Deville. She will be getting probably B tier. There was times when she's really good. Because I think she plays a pretty awesome heel, but she's not utilized enough, and she had a bit of a gap. So she's B tier for me. Natalia is a legend. She gets S tier. She's been in the business for such a long time, and she knows exactly her role now. So she gets that. Naomi's A tier. She's probably here though. She hasn't quite put into S tier, and she only recently came back to WWE anyway. And her character is good, but her wrestling work isn't exactly at S tier yet. Um, Tiffany Stratton, she's an obvious one. Man, I put her in front of Naomi. Actually, I think she has the potential to be S tier soon, and already she's shown me so much. And her character is one of those as well that I'm a huge fan of. So put her there. Raquel Rodriguez, she is probably just at the top of B tier. She hasn't, for me, gone to A tier. Her character is a bit one-dimensional for me. She went through a lot in the tag team division, getting different partners. It's just a lot to be liked, so she'll be there. Oh my god, Rhea Ripley. No, she probably belongs right here for me. It's also, I'm a huge fan of her character now. If you were to ask me just a few years ago, before Judgment Day, she probably get something like C tier, but now she's definitely S tier. Her character, oh, it is so good. So I'll put her there. BFAB. Sorry, BFAB. You get D tier. You are a manager. I think you maybe have wrestled like once or twice on the main roster, as far as I remember. That could have changed though, since the last few weeks have been, I've been falling really behind. So, but yeah, Ava, you're also just a manager. So unfortunately, you also going to be D tier. Although as a manager, she is doing great. Don't watch NXT though, so unfortunately, can't for sure say that. Once again, I can only base it off wrestling, and her character, and that is not that interesting. At most, she probably has one off on Candice because um, she wasn't giving off like this really kind of fake, like super vanilla character work. But honestly, she's only barely at B tier for me. So Kyrie, you go next. Character work is just she hasn't shown me much. Her wrestling is really good though, so she actually gets also B tier. But now Jade, Man, Jade, I'm sorry, you get like bottom of A. She could be S tier, but her wrestling is just isn't there yet. The aura she gives off as her character work though is pretty good, so that's why I'll put her there. But otherwise, I don't. I'm sorry, can't go any further than that. Roxanne Perez, you get A tier over here or over here. Even though I don't watch NXT, I know I've watched it enough to know Roxanne is definitely up there. She should be going to main roster pretty much at any moment. We need her on main roster. I've seen her wrestle because, for one, I've seen clips of some matches on NXT, obviously, but also she has wrestled on main roster. Um, I think she was even in the Royal Rumble, if I remember, and that was only recently. So Scarlett, my gosh, you get C tier. Um, you've been on the roster enough, and I know you have the potential to be good, but I mean, they need to have a wrestle. Tegan Knox, C tier. I'm sorry, but you haven't shown me enough. I'm just not interested. I can't believe I didn't even see Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss, her character alone, I've been a huge fan of. Well, I say her character. She's kind of gone through a bit of like character changes, but um, they're kind of more like spooky type of vibe she was giving, like the things she was doing with Bray, that type of stuff. Yeah, nah, I like that aesthetic and that style, so that was cool. Wrestling, she was decent. I actually haven't seen her in forever. She hasn't come back, has she? So she gets that. Zelina Vega, she gets probably A tier, but the end. She just isn't properly utilized. Doesn't really get championship opportunities anymore. The last thing I remember her really doing that was big was like King of the Ring type of stuff when she was Queen Zelina, and that's basically Nia Jax, who right now is probably, and I hate to say it, but something like this. She's been doing great work. Huge fan right now. Huge fan. Don't screw it up. Be careful. Wrestle properly. Please wrestle properly. Be safe out there. And yeah, there is. I'm not trying to disrespect any of the other females here. There's too many unknowns because of the NXT thing, and the ones that are main roster that I just, they're not on screen enough. Um, and there's just isn't enough to say about them. Everybody else kind of have like just barely enough on them, so we'll do that. Although I'm kind of curious the community. What was rated? I want to choose somebody. Who should I choose? This is interesting. I want to choose this one. Because this one's really interesting. They have Jade, Scarlett, and Zelina S tier. D tier they put Charlotte Flair, Tiffany Strand, Tamina. Tamina kind of makes sense. Natalia, Zoe Stark, Nia Jax. I don't know what she's going by now. Shayna Baszler and Shotzi. Wow, disrespectful. But at the same time, I could see maybe the reasoning behind it. I'm very curious about this one though. Like, why Scarlett? Why is Scarlett S tier? Why is Scarlett S tier? I'm just curious. She could be. She very much could be a hidden gem. But why is she S tier? I'm curious. And that's going to go ahead and do it with this tier list of WWE by me, the Gen Z person. But I really want to get into more WWE content, especially because that is just a passion of mine. I really like WWE, and I feel like I really like a lot of the WWE YouTubers. I really do. But they somehow miss the mark on really relating to me and probably my age. Obviously, I don't speak for all Gen Z. A lot of people probably think differently. Maybe a lot more people have seen older matches and they're basing it off that or whatever it is. But personally, I always see like a bit of a disconnect, and we need people who are a little bit more like me who didn't quite watch the WWF, so we don't have that bias that's always slightly there, you know? But yeah, thank you guys for watching this. I hope you guys enjoyed. Like, subscribe like always, and I'll see you guys on the next one.